All right, let me start it. Hello, everybody. My name is Karen Batty. I'm the Senior Director, and this is part of our Fast Track series, April 2nd, and today's topic is the full service checkout. The full service checkout is the place where all the seed planting, all the other work we do, the host coaching, get more people in the room, all that other stuff kind of comes together. And it's kind of, I call it, it's where the rubber meets the road. Before I get to the full service checkout, I want to talk about how we align ourselves for a successful full service checkout, because that starts long before customers walk up to us with orders. It starts very soon after we arrive at the party, in fact. And when I'm talking with consultants about the full service checkout, I find that a lot of times consultants know what to say, but it's just a matter of sometimes it's the behind the scenes stuff that isn't leading up to an area and a time that is conducive to a good full service checkout. So that's what I want to start by covering. So you get to your party. The first thing I do when I get to a party, I have two bags with me. One has my products, one has everything for my full service checkout. First thing I do is figure out where I'm doing the demo. I put my product bag down. I don't even unpack my products. The very next thing I do is figure out where I'm doing that full service checkout. Okay, and ideally, I prefer a place that's a little separate from the crowd so I can have a quiet conversation. But I want it to be close enough so I can still keep my thumb on the pulse with what's going on at the party. Now, that being said, you know, some houses we just have to kind of make do with what we have as far as the setup goes. Okay, so once you find your place where you're going to have your full service checkout, you want to have everything you need on hand. You want your calendar with your available dates on there. You want Discover Us and Join Us brochures, host packets, bring at least 3. I also have fundraiser flyers, wedding show flyers. We get those on the supply order, or they're actually downloadable on the website. And I also bring kit agreement order forms, because you never know. So you want to be prepared so that when you leave that party, anything that anybody could want from you, you can hand to them. So you don't have to go home and mail it to them. You want to be as efficient as you can be. So now you've set everything up, and before the show, during the setup, use name tags. Name tags will help you with the full service checkout, because you're looking at people and calling them by name all evening long. When you collect those survey slips and start going through them, you'll be able to match up names with faces right away than trying to figure out who is this one and who is that one until they come walking up toward you. I chat with the hosts when I'm getting set up, and I say, so tell me about the people who are coming tonight. And I kind of leave it at that. I let her tell me things, and I ask her some questions, not in an interrogating sort of way, just in a really conversational way. So, you know, I'll say, you know, tell me about who's coming tonight. Do they love to cook, hate to cook? Do they have kids? Are they cooking for 1 or 2? And I have her tell me a little bit about the crowd. And then I ask her, is there anybody in the crowd who loves to entertain or just moved into a new home or anything like that? These are the people who are likely to have parties. And if I'm making out the name tags, I heard a great idea. Have the host make out name tags for everybody who said yes. And then you can put little marks on them. Like if the host has indicated that they might want to have a party, you can put a little dot in the top left that can mean booking to you or something like that. I also ask, you know, during host coaching, I said that, you know, make sure to invite people who might be looking for additional income. Are any of those people coming tonight? And who are they? And believe me, they'll tell you if they are coming. And again, you're not going to jump on these people, but it's just an awareness thing. When those people arrive, you're like, ah, okay, this could be a really strong recruit lead. Another thing that you want to do to make sure your full service checkout is smooth is start your show on time and do one recipe. When we start our show late, or we do multiple recipes, all of a sudden we're talking product, and all of a sudden it's getting very late into the night, and then we rush through things like the booking slide and the Q&A round. And when things go late, that's when people just kind of throw their orders at us and leave, right? So a lot of people don't realize it, but a good full service checkout starts with starting that show on time. Now, that's, again, a relative term. For me, if a party's supposed to start at 7, I want to start by 10 after 7. I'm pretty chatty. I tend to talk a lot. But even when I start at 7:10, I am done by 8:10. and nobody's running out the door. I've got a good 45 minutes before people are really like, I got to scoot, I got to get out of here. And that is plenty of time to place all the orders, not have to feel rushed, and not have that line developing where we feel like we want to, you know, rush right through it. So start the party on time. If you are having troubles with that, if right now the culture of your party is you start late, nobody's there on time, then start with the host coaching on call number 3 and just say, you know, I've been talking with some of my hosts and you know, finding out what they like about the parties that I'm doing and what might need a little bit of changing. And overall, people are saying they're having great times and everything. But what I'm hearing from some of my customers is they wish that I started on time because they've got to get up with their kids or they've got to get up for work in the morning. So it's my resolution now in the new season to start my parties on time. Let people know if they're going to be late. That's okay. You know, we don't need till the end. They can come late. It's all right, not to worry. And then, you know, so you let your host know that this is what our guests want. They want to start on time. So, okay. So like I said, you want to get started about 10 minutes after the time stated. Okay. Talked about putting it into your host coaching. Oh, if a host wants a second recipe, I say to her, I really don't like to demo more than one because I'm good, but I'm not that good. And we don't want, I would rather have people leave that party saying, oh, is it over already? Rather than thinking, when is this going to end? You know, and so I try to create that picture for the host. And I say, and if I do 2 recipes, I have to wash products in between. It gets really kind of cumbersome and not really fun. So I like to really pick one recipe that shows off tons of products. If you've got a big crowd, put out some extra chips and salsa. If she's insistent that she wants a second Pampered Chef recipe, I'll offer to come a few minutes early and make it ahead. Okay, but I'm only demoing one recipe. I'm the CEO of my business, and that's my decision. And you know what? I don't really have any problem with hosts complying with that. And once they've been to a show where there's only one recipe, that's all they expect, one recipe. And it makes our job look much more doable. You're going to have people more interested in the business opportunity if it doesn't look like you're a caterer. Okay, now during the show, if you want to have good conversations during the full service checkout, you want to make sure you're planting seeds during your demo for bookings and recruiting, as well as bragging common hesitations. I think we heard from Debbie a couple of weeks ago when it comes to generating interest at her shows. She starts her party by saying she's a consultant and a recruiter with the Pampered Chef. How many of you are starting your parties that way? Raise your hand. Okay. I see a couple of hands, but not nearly all of them. Okay, this is assignment number 1. I want you 3 times tomorrow, at least 3 times tomorrow. Stand in your kitchen with a big old smile, pretend you've got a kitchen full of customers and say, hi, my name is, whatever your name is. I'm a consultant and a recruiter with the Pampered Chef. Even if you change nothing else that you do, it will change how everyone in that room views you. They will take what you're saying more seriously and with more weight, okay? It's a change I made just about a month and a half ago, and I cannot believe the difference it's made, okay? Because now I'm not just that home party lady. I'm a consultant and a recruiter with the Pampered Chef. They're like, oh, she's pretty serious about her business. She must be good at this. And then what I say carries more credence. Okay, so if you haven't yet started doing that, make that your top priority. Okay, and other seeds that you can plant when I talk about scheduling a party, I say, you know what, when you book your party tonight or when you pick a date tonight, so that it's kind of planting a seed, you're going to pick a date tonight. Okay. Brag some objections. If you are hearing the same thing over and over, the same hesitations over and over at your full service checkout, brag them during your demo. Say something like, I know what some of you might be thinking, and then fill in that hesitation that you're hearing and address it right in front of the crowd. So that by the time they come to you, they're at least a maybe, and you're going to have a much better conversation during the full service checkout. At the end of the party, I walk them through the survey slip, and I think we heard Debbie did a great job on that. After the survey slip, I kind of wave my hand if I've lost the crowd, and I say, okay, everybody, I just need your attention for 1 more minute. And this is super important because this is going to tell your guests how the full service checkout will go, okay? So that you don't have a line and feeling rushed. Okay, can I have your attention for 1 more minute? I want to thank you all again for coming. For those of you interested, I'll be processing orders over here, and I point right to where I'm doing them. I tell them the forms of payment. You can pay by cash, make checks payable to me, blah, 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 MasterCard, Visa, blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. If you need to leave right away, please come up right away. If you can wait a few minutes, please do so I can help those who are in a rush to get home. If you come up and I'm already working with someone, don't stand in line. Just put your order face down here, and I point right to where I want them to put it. Put your order face down here. Do not leave your cash, your check, or your credit card. Just your order face down here, and then I will call you up when it's your turn. It's sort of like being on hold, only you get to go back and have another glass of wine and eat a little bit more. Okay, because a lot of times people come up to process their order, not because they're wanting to get out of the party right away, but just because they want to get that done and then go back and have some fun. So this way they'll put their order down and you won't have that big long waiting period. Or that line that we feel like, oh my gosh, it's like at the grocery store, hurry up so they can get back to the fun. Okay, so those are all the things that sort of lead up to an environment that's conducive to a really good full service checkout. Has anybody had any aha moments? Anybody thinking, oh my goodness, oh, if I made that change, what a difference that would make? Yeah, I see some nods. Okay, good. Yeah, because a lot of times it's not what we're saying or not saying, it's how many people we're getting to talk to, and are they rushing out the door or just leaving their orders and we don't even get that opportunity. Okay, so now here we are. We're at the full service checkout. It's only about 8:15 at a 7 o'clock show, or if it's a 6:30 show, it's probably 7:45. Plenty of time. People are not going to be rushing out the door. Now, when it comes to the full service checkout, just like with your show, you're going to want to let it evolve and find your voice. I'm going to be sharing some conversation starters, but like I said, let this evolve and be true to who you are. It took me actually kind of a long time to get used to or comfortable with the full service checkout, because back when I started, we were not taught a full service checkout. And when they came out with it, here I was having a grand old time at my parties, really informal, lots of laughs, and all of a sudden I would get to the full service checkout and all of a sudden, whoom, very formal. And I'm not a formal person. So my full service checkout has sort of evolved just to kind of reflect my personality. And yours will too. So the goal of the full service checkout is to meet people's needs, to find out what they're curious about, find out what their hesitations are, and address them. The goal is to get bookings in the calendar that night, packets into their hand, and find out who your recruit leads are. Okay? How many of you believe that there are recruit leads at every single show that you do? How many of you think, nope, not true, not every single show, maybe a couple shows? Okay, good, good. There are, if we do our job right, there are leads at every single party. They may not be the people in the room. They could be relatives, coworkers, neighbors, family members of the people in the room. Okay, so it's not just who they know, it's all the people that they know as well. Okay, so be thinking about that when you're planting seeds during your demo and also during that full service checkout. Okay, so when they come up to place their order, you want to set the order aside, okay, and make eye contact and have a little bit of a conversation. Warm it up a little bit. Hey, Mel, did you have fun tonight? Did you enjoy the recipe? Gets them nodding and saying yes, which is a good thing. Now, I have posted the survey slip that I use at my parties. It's on the Fast Track page. It's definitely different from the one that the home office uses. 99% of the time, I'm using whatever the home office gives us. But I was never really pleased with the survey slip. It gives a lot of visual weight to the name and address, and then the questions are like this big. And then there's a yes and a no and a maybe. So what I've done on mine is I flipped it around. The name and the address is at the bottom. It starts with the questions. So they don't skip over the questions, and it gives them options to say 1 through 10, which I think is for a brand new person just getting used to a full service checkout, it's so easy then for even the newest consultant to look and say, so Gina, I see you circled a 6 as far as your interest in learning about more about the business. I'm curious, what makes it a 6 for you? It is a very easy way for brand new people even to find out where people are at and what their hesitations are. Same thing with the booking. Oh, so when it comes to having a party, I see you're a 7. What makes it a 7? And they go, well, I know I want to have one. I'm just not sure when. Oh, okay. Or I know I want to have one, but my house is too small, or my house is under construction. They'll tell you why it's not a 10. And then it's really, the simple part really is coming up with a solution. Usually the tricky part is finding out what's holding people back. So I really love those numbers 1 through 10. It makes our job super easy. So if you want, you can use that survey slip and just say, so what makes it a 6 for you? What makes it a 9 for you, or what have you? Or you can say something like, you want to start with the big thing first, the business opportunity. You could say something like, so Mel, I know, you know that I'm not just a consultant, but I'm also a recruiter with the Pampered Chef. Have you ever thought about doing something like this? And then just wait. And when I first heard this, I thought, well, that's not an open-ended question. They can say yes or they can say no. But guess what? They don't just give you a yes or no answer. They usually elaborate, which is a great thing. So you can have that conversation with them. And like I said, when I started saying it in the backdrop of, I'm not just a consultant, I'm a recruiter, I think people took the question more seriously now, and they actually, give a response. So have you ever thought of doing something like this? And a lot of times you'll hear, well, yeah, I actually have. Or no, this is absolutely not for me. So if they say, yeah, I actually have, well, then fantastic. You want to give us a join us brochure. Send them home with the bigger flyer, okay? Give them a join us brochure and say something like, I'd love to send you home with some information, and I find that this often generates as many questions as it answers. So I'd love to set up a time for us that we can talk in the next day or two, just so I can answer any questions you have and kind of explain in more detail how the business works so that you can get the information you need to make an informed decision. How does that sound? So they say, yeah, okay, we can talk in a day or two. Then you take out your calendar and you schedule that time. If you are at a place in your business where you want to be doing those conversations as a 3-way call with your director, then the night before you go to a party or the day before you go to a party, contact your director and say, what is your schedule like over the next 2 days, and when would you be available for 3-way calls? So that right then and there, you can schedule that on the spot. Because once that person leaves and you try to connect with them to confirm or arrange, forget it. So you want to get everything done that you possibly can. So know when those 3-way calls can happen if you need to have those happen. So get say, is it okay if we talk in a day or two, and then actually take out the calendar and schedule it. And write it on a sticky note on the back of their Join Us brochure. Write the date, the time, really looking forward to talking with you. And again, you're telling them, this is so that they can get the information they need to make an informed decision. This is not about them signing, because sometimes people get a little skittish. This is about them getting the information they need to make a good decision. Now, sometimes people will be solid no's. Have you ever thought about doing something like this? No, I'm very happy at my job, and I'm not thinking about something like this at all. And so what you can say to a firm no is, well, I'd still love you to take some information home in case you bump into someone who could use additional income. Did you know that I offer referral bonuses? And you can hand them, instead of giving them a Join Us brochure, which are a little more money, you can just give them a Discover Us brochure. Make sure all of the brochures have your contact information on them. Okay, and you can let them know you offer a referral bonus, and you can even say, do you know of anybody who might be curious to learn more about this? Sometimes they'll say yes right away. In fact, I have someone on my team who signed beginning of March who never had attended my party. It was her mother who came to my party. And when I asked her at the full service checkout, she goes, oh, my daughter could use something like this. So even the no's can go home with information, and all of a sudden, they might not have been thinking about who they knew, but all of a sudden, the wheels are turning. And you can even kind of plant a seed, like, when you go to work tomorrow and someone asks, what'd you do last night? And you say a Pampered Chef party, you might hear, all of a sudden you might hear someone say, oh my gosh, I love Pampered Chef, and oh, I can't afford it right now. So you can say, ooh, and again, you offer a referral bonus. Now, if you get a no from someone that you really, really feel would be fantastic at this, this is where the magic really comes in. Now, you at the beginning of the show, you told them you're not just a consultant, but you're also a recruiter with the Pampered Chef. And this is where I feel like it's really been magical. So here's someone who said, no, I'm really not interested. I love my job, and I'm not at all interested in something like this. But I think they would be a great fit. I can just lean a little bit closer, kind of look around to see if anybody's listening, and I get a little bit quieter, and I say something like, now, I'm not just a consultant, but I'm a recruiter with the Pampered Chef, and I am always on the lookout for really sharp people, and you are exactly the kind of person that I'm looking for when I'm recruiting for the company. Are you sure you don't want to just take some information home to look over? Because you know what? You never know when that job you love might not be available anymore, or you might have your hours cut back. And a lot of times at this point they go, oh, okay. All right. Because now they're complimented and they're thinking, wow, this is a person who recruits and she thinks I'd be great at this. Sometimes, even before I say you never know when life could change, I'll say, are you sure you don't want to just take some information home to look at? And they're like, really? You think I'd be good at this? Oh, okay. I guess it couldn't hurt to take some information home. Terrific. And would it be okay if I gave you a call in a day or two after you've had a chance to just kind of look over the information, just to answer any questions you might have, to give you the information you might need at some point down the road? If they say, oh, it's not something I'd be doing, right away. And I say, oh, I get that. Yeah. But you know what? While it's fresh in both of our minds, before I forget who you are, I always say it might be too soon for you to ever even consider something like this, but it's never too soon to get the information you need. This is not about signing up right now. It's just about getting you the information that you need. And a lot of times they'll then say, oh, okay, all right, then we can talk in a day or two. And then you get out your calendar and say, oh, I've got some time. Just block a time. Does that work for you? Write it on the sticky note and hand them the Join Us brochure. Now, a lot of times we don't get a yes and we don't get a no. We get something that sounds, it can sound like a no, but it's not really a no. It's that sort of gray area. Maybe part of what they heard appealed to them, but they're hesitant. So a lot of times, we'll say, I'm a recruiter with the Pampered Chef. Have you ever thought about doing something like this? They'd say, oh, I'd love to, but, or I could never do this because. These are not no's. If you are taking them as no's, you are probably turning away some of the strongest leads. When someone says, I would love to, but, or I could never do this because, it means they've thought it through thoroughly enough to say that they couldn't do it because. It means they've thought about it enough to come to this conclusion that they could never do it, or they don't picture themselves doing it. So, you just say to them, well, tell me a little bit more about this. If they say, oh, I could never do what you do. Really? Tell me a little bit more about that. I'm curious, what do you mean about that? So just get them to clarify it a little bit. And you can either offer them a solution for their hesitation, but this is really not the time to have a lengthy conversation and to go through what I call the thorough conversation about their hesitations. This is the time where I just kind of do what I call the quick fix. So maybe they say something like, oh my gosh, you're so outgoing, but I'm really, really shy. And then, what I usually say is, you know what, I used to be too. And actually the number one concern most people have is, oh my goodness, can I ever get in front of a room full of people? But let me ask you something. If I could assure you that I could teach you the strategies that you needed so that you could start with family and friends, and by the time you were done with them, you were comfortable in a room full of people, would you be curious enough to want to take information home to look over? Or even, you don't even have to get that detailed. If I could just wave a magic spatula and your shyness went away, would you want to consider the business? Because sometimes people will just make up an excuse because it's a polite way to say no, but sometimes it's really hesitation that if they had a solution for it, they would be interested in learning more. So I asked them that, if I could wave a magic spatula and that was no longer an issue, would you be curious enough to want to take some information home? So what I'm really saying is, are you a lead or not? Are you politely saying no, or is this really a concern of yours? And I got to tell you, it's probably a 50-50 shot that sometimes they're just politely saying no, and they'll say, no, even if you took care of that, I really wouldn't be interested. Okay, then move right along. But a lot of times they'll say, oh, well, yeah, then I would be curious. Well, great, then why don't you just take some information home? It never hurts to get information. And they go, okay. And then I say, and could I give you a call in a day or two? You know, just to see if you've got questions. Most people, I find this information, you know, sparks as many questions as it answers. Would it be okay if I gave you a call in a day or two to see what you think and answer any questions you might have? Then schedule it. Okay. So do you guys feel like, all right, you know, with these ideas, I could be sending more people home with information? You guys feel like that? Good. Because that's the thing. You know, there's a certain amount of this business that's kind of a numbers game. The more people that take information home, the more people that are likely going to sign at some point. Now, the other thing that's great about this is when they take information home, even if they don't talk to you right away, they now have information with your contact information on the back. So if life does change, and all of a sudden, you know, something like this could be a fit for them, they're not wondering, who is that person I saw? Or they're not just going to go to the next party and sign up with the next person. And it might not even be a Pampered Chef person. It might just be, you know, a different direct sale company. But now is the time for direct sales. And instead of just going to that next person down the road, or that they get invited to, now they can actually say, ooh, I got that information. Why don't I dig that up and call that number on the back? Not everybody's going to save it, but a few people will. And the ones who save it are the ones who maybe would call you in a little while. Okay. Take notes on your survey slips, okay? That's the other reason why I like the ones that I've been using, because they're a half sheet of paper and you've got plenty of room to write on there. What makes it a 6 for you? Write down what makes it a 6 for them. You know, write down what they said. And write down if they took information home, write down when you're going to follow up with them. Okay, so that when you go home, you can then put that on your appropriate to-do list in whatever form you do your to-do list. Okay, so now we've talked about the business opportunity. We're going to move on to the show. Again, you can just look and say, oh, I see you circled to 7 about having a party. What makes it a 7 for you? Or what I like to say is, so we had so much fun tonight. Are you going to have me over to do this with your friends? I never say, do you want to host a show? Because that sounds like a lot of work. It does not sound like fun. So, but hey, am I coming over to do this with your family and friends? Sounds like fun. Okay, so figure out a way to ask the question without saying host a show. Okay, how about getting a few friends together? That sort of thing. If it's a yes, schedule the party. Get them in the calendar, or get them narrowed down so that that party can be booked in the next 24 to 48 hours. If they say no, I just go, really, how come? And it's not why, like, you know, a cop in an interrogation room. It's just really, how come? Find out why. Because very often you've got a solution for it. Oh, I just don't know enough people. Oh my goodness, now you can address that hesitation. And you know the 3 things we hear over and over. I don't know if my house is big enough. I don't know if I know enough people. I don't know if I have enough time. And, you know, a great solution for all of those is to co-host. If you can't think of anything else, offer a co-host show. And I love co-hosted shows because it's like going out and doing 2 parties at once. They're usually much bigger than the average show. So ask how come. If they say my house isn't big enough, oh my goodness, you know, is it that your kitchen isn't big enough? Because, you know, very often we're in people's living rooms. Do you have a friend that's got a bigger place if their house really is too small? If they live close to you and you can offer your house, go ahead and do that. If they don't know enough people, say, how many people do you feel like you know? Most people say 4 to 5 and say, well, great. And if they each brought a friend or two, you have a great crowd. That's fantastic. And you know what? I bet I can brainstorm and help you think of a few more people. I'm not trying to convince them they know 100 people. I'm just trying to convince them they know enough to have a party so we can get a date in the calendar. I'm going to host coach later. Okay? And if they say, I don't know if I have enough time. Well, before you make your decision final, can I tell you how easy I make it for my hosts? Tell them how easy it is. I always say it's a 6-minute investment. 2 minutes to take the invitation that I create for you and throw it on Facebook, 2 minutes to forward it to everybody you've got an email address for, and 2 minutes to print out a bunch so that wherever you're going, you can hand it out to people that you see. That's it. And for that, you're looking at, $150, $200 shopping spree. What do you think? Offer the solution and then say, so what do you think? Re-invite them and see what they say. I would say at least half the people who have parties scheduled in my calendar right now were not people who walked up and had circled 10 or said, I want to have a party. They're people who had hesitations. It happens all the time. They have hesitations. You find a solution for them. They're having a party. Because if they didn't want to have a party, they'd say no. Now, I remember learning about the full service checkout, and at the training they said something to the effect of, when you get a solid no, you will know it. And so just to keep it really lighthearted at the full service checkout, when I get one of those solid no's, like those people who you barely get the words out, they're making a face, they're like talking to the hand, I just look at them and I go, oh, they taught me about this. And then they look at me all puzzled. I said, they told me when I got a solid no, I would know it. And I'm thinking, this is a solid no. And then they start laughing and they're like, yeah, I never do these parties. And I just go, really, how come? But now they're engaged with me and they're laughing. And I don't change a lot of those people's minds, but at least it lightens the mood. We don't need everybody to say yes. We just need to average 2 bookings in the calendar from every show. 3 is even better. So now a lot of times we hear, well, I'd love to have a party, but I definitely can't pick a date tonight. I get probably 85% of those people to pick dates that night. And I don't twist their arm and I do not pressure them. I say, that's okay. You don't have to pick a date tonight. But let me ask you, did you know what month you wanted? Almost everybody knows what month they want. And it's usually the month that I've been talking up. Oh, well, I definitely know I want April for that rock croc. Okay. I do shows on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Do you have a preference? Oh, I can't do Thursdays because I do such and such on Thursdays. I think I'd like a Friday. Okay, so now we've gone to, a lot of times people will say, I can't pick a date tonight because they're thinking, my goodness, there's 365 days in a year. When is going to be the perfect day to have my party? And now we've narrowed it down to 4, just a couple of questions. What month do you like? Do you have a preference to a day? If you're pretty flexible, you can say, would you like a weekday or a week evening? And narrow it down that way. So if they say I want a Friday, I open up my calendar to April and I go, well, that one's booked, that one's booked. I've got this one open. And all of a sudden they're like, oh. And sometimes they need to check a calendar. They don't necessarily need to check their calendar. They just need a calendar in front of them so they can count their scheduled days. They know they have to work every other Friday or something like that. And they're like, oh, let me see. And then they count and they go, okay, I can do that one. And all of a sudden they go, okay, so I'll put you down for that. Now, just a second ago, I told them they didn't have to pick a date that night, but here they are picking a date. They didn't know how easy it was going to be. That's why they said, I can't pick a date tonight. But if they say, I can't pick a date tonight, and you say, that's okay, can I call you? Good luck getting them on the phone again. And then you're playing phone tag, and you can't progress and get that date in the calendar. Now, even if the person couldn't pick a date that night, but they say, okay, I think that Friday could work. Well, if not, I have this Friday. So you give them 2 dates, and I say, how about this? Can I call you tomorrow? Just a real quick call so you can tell me which one of these dates is going to work for you. Because our host, Mel here, is going to get credit for the booking if you pick a date before I close out with her, and we're going to be closing out her party tomorrow. I would love for her to get credit. Now, the guests never met me before, okay? They don't really care about picking a date for my sake. And they don't really even care for their own sake, but they want to do it for the host. They want their friend to get credit. So use that booking credit. It's very, very powerful. And even if they work full time, I'll say, you know, and I make my calls during the day, I'll say, is there a time when you've got literally 2 minutes so we can just hammer out the date? Would be a good time that I could call you. And a lot of times they've got a lunch break, or they've got a coffee break, or sometimes they're like, yeah, you can just call me. Yeah, and then I'll call you, you know, if I can't pick up, I won't, and I'll call you back within a few minutes, because they're allowed to take a quick call at work, as long as it really is a quick call. And when you've narrowed them down and they're just checking out a couple of dates, that can be a very quick call. Okay. So very often, like I said, they pick a date right then and there. But if they do need to check their calendar, like I said, get that permission to call them back within the next day. And the other thing is, if you call them and they're not able to pick up, you can leave a voicemail saying, I was just touching base. I know you were looking at the Friday in April. I've got this and this one open. If you can give me a call back, or email me, or text me, whatever the best way to get in touch with you is. If you can get back to me before 7 o'clock tonight when I talk with Mel, I will definitely make sure she gets credit for the booking. So now, even if you don't even get to talk to them, they can call you back and leave a voicemail, or they can text you back saying, I'll take the 14th, please. And the job's done, and you never even got to connect with them again. So super important to narrow that date down at the very least, but a lot of times you'll find they'll be able to pick the date that night. Sometimes they say, I need to check with my friends to see if they'd come. Do you guys ever hear that? Yeah. And so what I say to them is, okay, so can I ask you a question? Let's pretend that we're coworkers. And I come up to you tomorrow and you say, hey, you know, we're all talking about what we're doing. And I said I went to a Pampered Chef party last night. And then I say to you, I'm actually thinking about booking one. If I had one, would you come to it? What was your next question likely to be for me? And I say that. I don't say, what would you say? I say to them, what would your next question to me be? And they stop and they think about it. And a lot of times they'll say, oh, it depends. When is it? I go, exactly right. When is it? People can't commit unless they know when it is. So how about we pick a date that works for us, and then you can go to work and say, and invite everybody. If they don't want to come, they won't. If they do want to come, they will. If you're concerned that nobody's going to want to come, and you go to work and you invite everybody there, and you invite other people too, because I'm going to give you lots of ideas on who to invite, and absolute everybody says no, then we'll just not have the party. It's okay. But people aren't going to be able to really give you an answer one way or the other unless they know when it is. Because the most common reason why people aren't coming to a Pampered Chef party is because they have plans. We're a busy culture. It's usually less than half the people you invite are going to say that they can come. So then they go, okay, that makes sense, and they'll pick a date. How many of you here, I want to check with my friends to see to find a date that works for everyone. Do you guys ever hear that one? Oh, I got to talk to my friends so I can find a date that works for everybody. And what I say to them is, okay, I know that I get it, but can I share with you what years of experience has taught me? And they always say yes. Again, before I offer any information, I ask permission to if they want to hear that information. And I'm telling you, they always say yes. Oh yeah, you can tell me what years of experience has taught you. What I find is, if you go and you ask 3 or 4 or 5 of your best friends, hey, I'm going to have a Pampered Chef party, you know, what date works for you? You are not going to find a date that works for everybody. We are a busy culture. It's just the way it is. It's a little less than half the people you invite are going to say they can come. And then there's even going to be a couple last minute cancellations. That's just kind of the way it is. But a lot of people who can't come will place outside orders. However, if you go and you poll them all, what's going to happen then is you're going to be forced to pick a date that you know is not going to work for everybody. And someone's going to be left out. And when you actually then pick a date, the person, then you're going to send out the invitation, and there's going to be a couple people going, I told her that date didn't work for me, and she picked that one? Huh, I guess I'm just not high enough up on the friends list. And you know what? So if you want to check with like 1 or 2 key people, okay. You got a mom who's definitely going to spend $200 if she walks through the door. Make sure your mom can come, okay? But other than that, pick a date, invite the world. Because if you just pick a date and you don't poll people and they can't come, they're not hurt. They're just like, oh, that date doesn't work for me, but I'd love to place an outside order. But if you poll them and pick a date that doesn't work for people, then those people who, they're going to be hurt and they're going to be like, I'm not going to place an order on her party. She picked a date that couldn't work for me. So I explain that to them and they go, oh, that makes sense. And again, if we pick a date and it just doesn't work for anybody, we can pick a new one. But you know what? Statistically, it's going to work for a little less than half. So just pick one that works for us and let's run with it. And you'll get outside orders from the people who can't come. Again, if they need to check with their mom or whatever, I say, well, don't call up your mom and say, when do you want to have a Pampered Chef show, and pick the perfect date and then call me back and find out I already have a party that night. How about if I give you a couple of dates I've got available? Were you looking for a free rock crock or free cook, or not a free, 60% off the rock crock or the cookware? Yeah, okay, then let's look at April dates. I do shows Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Which one of those do you like? Which do you prefer? Give them a couple of dates. I got this one, I got this one. Why don't you go and see which one of those works best for your mom? And now, again, when I go to follow up with her, even if I don't have the opportunity to talk with her live, I can leave that message. She can get back in touch with me or email me or whatever and say, put me down for the 14th. That works great for my mom. Okay. All right. There's also questions on the survey slip about fundraisers and bridal shows. And so, I look to see if they've checked anything off about that. And I love to book what I call pre-registry shows and pre-fundraiser shows. Because bridal showers and fundraisers, unless the timing is just right, it can take months and months and months for those to come to fruition, if ever, right? So if someone checks off they want information about the bridal shower, I say, so tell me a little bit more about that. Who's getting married? It's a friend, it's a neighbor, it's a coworker, whatever. And I go, okay, and when's the wedding? Sometimes it's not for a year or more. And then I'll say, well, you know what I suggest? Have a pre-registry show. Invite the bride to come, invite her family and her friends. You'll get some free products just for having the party. And then they can all hear about the bridal show from me. And if they've got questions, I can answer all their questions. Now they're much more likely to have the bridal show because the whole darn crowd is excited about it, rather than you going, hey, how about a Pampered Chef bridal shower? And they start asking you questions and you're like, I don't know the answer to that. And then they're like, yeah, I don't think so. I think we'll just go with a regular one. So, and especially if it's the bride herself, I say you definitely want to have a pre-registry show if the wedding's not for a long way off. First of all, you can get a jump start on your wish list, get that hope chest started. Second of all, you can get all your family and friends and neighbors on board with it. They'll be like, oh yeah, let's do a Pampered Chef bridal shower for you. And then you'll really clean up at that time. So now you got a booking now and you got a booking for down the road. And then I say, of course, and by the way, are you looking for additional money for that wedding? Who's going to say no to that? No, I have all the money I need. Don't need any. No, of course they often need extra money. Well, you know what? You should really consider the business. I know you said no a minute ago, but are you kidding? You can get free products as well as income. This is great for brides. You don't have to do it forever. Just do it for, just to earn some extra money. And you know what? We have travel incentive too. You can even earn a free honeymoon. Same thing if it's a fundraiser. I say, so, tell me about, I don't just hand them a flyer. I'll say, what kind of fundraiser is it? And again, if they have to meet with a group of people, I'll say, what I find is you meet with the group of people, you can't answer all their questions. And then they're like, oh, I don't know if this is really going to work out. How about if you have a Pampered Chef party and you invite all those people who would be making the decision about that fundraiser? I can get them all excited. They'll see what's new from Pampered Chef. I can present the fundraiser idea. I can answer any and all their questions. And, and of course, you'll get a bunch of free stuff just for having everybody over. How does that sound? So very often I'll get a booking from someone who maybe said no to a booking, just a few minutes ago. But now when it's tied to a pre-registry show or a pre-fundraiser show, all of a sudden they're on board with that. And I tell them, you can actually make your party a separate fundraiser for that organization. So they can start earning money that night, and then when they book the bigger fundraiser, earn even more money. Okay. So if they're a recruit lead, you want to hand them the recruiting information on the spot. That's the Join Us brochure. If they don't appear to be a recruit lead right on the spot, you want to hand them, and I do. I have the information right there, and I hand it to them. This is new for me. I go, well, here, I'd like to invite you to take this information home anyway, in case you bump into someone who could be in need for something like this, or maybe you have a life change down the road. Hand them that Discover Us brochure. Hand out those host packets to the people who are yeses or who just have narrowed it down to a couple of dates and they're definitely going to have a party. Give the fundraisers and the bridal show flyers out right then and there so that you don't have to go home and do all of that work after the fact. Do it all right there at the party. Okay. Make sure you verify their phone number and their email address so you can get back in touch with them. I also let people know, this is new for me, I used to do customer care calls, maybe spotty a few times a year and call as many people as I could. Now I'm trying to make it a habit of making 5 to 10 customer care calls a day. I might get 2 people on the phone a day, so this is not a lengthy phone call at all. But I tell people I like to touch base with you about a month after the party. Just make sure you received your products. Hopefully by then you've got them out of the box and you're using them. Just to touch base real quick to make sure you're enjoying your products and see if you have any questions about them. So what's the best number to reach you at? And so now that I've told them that, now I darn well better do it, right? So I'm doing that to hold myself accountable as well. And it is amazing, since I've been doing this, how many people a month later change their mind and maybe want information about the business. I haven't found anybody yet actually who changed their mind about the business, but I found people who've changed their mind about having a party. And I found people who a month later, did you get everything you wanted at that last party, or would you like to place another order at this point, because here's what we've got on special, and they'll place another order. Okay, so that's kind of everything in a nutshell. So if you guys want to unmute and let me know if you've got any questions or comments. I'm especially interested to hear what really jumped out at you, because when I hear your aha moments, it makes me a better trainer when I'm working with other people. So I'd like to hear those as well. Anybody going to jump in?
I'll share that I really liked how you started your full service checkout from the onset of the show, and especially how you start the show on time and only do the one recipe, because it leaves you that time for a thorough checkout.
Yeah,
and that totally makes sense.
It does. And that, like I said, a lot of times we kind of have an idea of what we're supposed to be saying and doing during our full service checkout. It's just we don't have an orderly one. It's just total chaos. And it's still, I still have times where my full service checkout is chaos, because some shows are just chaotic. But it's now a rare thing since I've been doing it this way. So good. Anybody else? How about Emily or?
No, it's funny. I just recently was talking with Sue, because we had our team meeting yesterday and we were talking about full service checkout. So I had a lot of aha moments with her yesterday, and you kind of reiterated things that she said. So thank you for reiterating everything. You have to hear it 5 times, right?
Oh, actually, yeah. Was there anything else that she shared that was fantastic that I might not have mentioned that you want to share with everybody?
Not really. It was just a matter of figuring out like the questions to ask and make sure they're not closed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask closed questions, because then you're going to get closed answers.
Right. And like I said, when I just heard that that person say to me, who was a hotshot recruiter, she recruits 5 to 7 people a month, and she said, "Have you ever thought about doing something like this?" I thought, that's a yes or no question. It's not going to work. And she said, "Trust me, try it." And really, people don't just say yes or no. They do elaborate on it. Yeah. And it's okay to say, "Tell me a little bit more about that." And they will. And they do. So, okay. So here are the challenges for this week. If you are not already doing it religiously, you are to now start your parties for the next 8 parties by saying, my name is Karen Batty, only don't say my name, say my name. I'm a consultant and a recruiter with the Pampered Chef, with a big old confident smile. And I want you to start by saying it tomorrow. I said 3 times before, 10 times tomorrow at some point. A couple times in the morning, a couple times in the afternoon, big old smile, either in your kitchen pretending you're in front of a crowd or in front of a mirror with a big old smile. Okay? Don't make the first time you're saying out loud be at a party. Okay? Make sure it's rolled off your tongue a few times at home. Then I want you, after I post the playback, or actually right after this if you want, post the changes that you're going to make to your full service checkout, including the changes that you're going to make, leading up to the full service checkout, whether it's starting your party on time, one recipe, all that kind of stuff. And then commit to those changes for at least the next 8 parties. Okay? When you make changes, they're usually awkward at first. They need time to evolve. They need time to kind of get practice. So commit to it for the next 8 parties. Of course, be in close contact with your director and continue your interviews. You want to be doing 1 to 2 interviews a week, even if it's a mock interview with a coworker or a friend or a neighbor, just to keep doing those interviews so that they become, easy and natural. There really will come a time when having a conversation about the business is going to be as natural as talking about the weather. It's going to be that comfortable, that easy, or talking about a booking or talking about a product. It's, it's all like, okay, this is topic of conversation. All right. Any other questions, comments?
Have fun in Punta Cana.
Yeah, have fun.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Oh, well, that reminds me. So we won't have a fast track call next Wednesday. We will resume the following Wednesday. So be working on that. We want to come back and have you all be directors, okay? Especially you, Anne-Marie. You've got plenty of time to schedule one of those team parties and get everybody active, okay? And
I'll try my best.
Absolutely. All right. Okay. Have a great couple of weeks, everyone.
You
Thanks,
too.
Karen.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.